everyone. Welcome to the first live session in the course Hospitality and Tourism Technology and Innovation. This is Dr. Dan Wang, Associate Professor from School of Hotel and Tourism Management in the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. On behalf of our MOOC production team and our guest speaker, I would like to welcome you to the course. Alright, so this is, I know, the end of the second week in your learning journey. We have scheduled 6 weeks good content for you to go. I'm so glad today I can have a chance to talk with you lively online, to receive questions from you, to answer questions for you. So today in our live session, the highlight of it is our special guest. So let me give you a brief introduction for our special guest. Dr. Is Tusadia is a reader in hospitality and digital experience with the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at University of Surrey, where she leads the research group on digital visitor economy and the digital lab. Her research interests lie in the intersection of digital technology and tourist experiences, which include a broad topic within travel and tourism, human-computer interaction, consumer behavior, and mobility. She investigates the roles of information and communication technology and digital media in shaping and transforming tourist experience and behavior, as well as informing best practices for destination marketing and management. Some of her current research areas include the application of intelligent automation, including robotics and artificial intelligence in hospitality and tourism. Dr. Tusadia is also the president of International Federation for Information Technologies and Travel and Tourism, and founding member of the Alliance for Innovators and Researchers in Tourism and Hospitality. From her bio, you may already heard a lot of cool words, and we know that Dr. Tusadia always work on some cool topics. So today, she brought something about robotics and its impact in hospitality and tourism industry. All right, so without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Is. Welcome, Is.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, Dr. Dan Wang, for inviting me to be here today. And it's my pleasure to be delivering a little bit of my research interest with you. And I would also like to welcome all of you to this live session. As mentioned before, I'm going to talk about intelligent automation in tourism and hospitality, and that would include topics around robotics and AI and how they have been applied in tourism and hospitality. I've had the pleasure of actually visiting Japan last week to tour Henna Hotel properties. So these are hotels implementing robotics in their business operations, and so I'm bringing some of the case studies from the hotel and share it with you today. So before going into the topic, so this is the agenda for today. Hopefully we will have, we will talk about briefly about digital transformation. I'm going to talk a little bit about the definition of AI and robotics and how they have been implemented in tourism and hospitality, and then also looking a little bit further into intelligent automation in the hospitality industry in particular, but also in the travel and tourism industry. And then I think I would like to talk also about how can we implement intelligent automation to create a sustainable future for the industry, and hopefully we will have an interesting discussion with you, with the audience, and also with Dr. Wang at the end of the talk. All right, so to begin the talk, let's talk a little bit about digital transformation. So this is what has changed in the industry and in the ways that we do travel and tourism because of the advancement in technology and because of digital revolution. And you've probably heard about, the industrial revolution and the industry 4.0 today. But essentially, I would like to highlight 4 different things that are influential in the transformation within the tourism and travel industry. One is related to technology advancement, and we are all aware of how fast technology development has been. If we read the news, listen to the news on TV or on the internet, every day we always find new cool things being introduced to the market, whether it's consumer goods or things that makes business operations more convenient, more efficient. And so the rapid development of technological solutions influence the ways we do business, the ways we do things in life, and that then results in all the 3 points that I put in this slide. So first of all, digital transformation means lots of changes, transformation in consumer behavior, because we as consumers get used to using the latest technologies. Yesterday we actually walked to have our dinner at the restaurant, and Dan was using a navigation system from Baidu, was it? And so it's really the way that consumer acts, the way that consumer book trips, the way that consumers enjoy trips and attractions at the destination has changed, and that then also influence the way that we offer tourism products and services to customers. And then another important transformation is in the way that operations in business are being conducted. So lots of technological solutions provide more efficient operations for businesses in travel and tourism and hospitality. So making sure that, for example, less service failures or cost savings in many different fronts. And lastly, I think what's important in travel and tourism industry is the disruptive innovation, because new technology allows for new kinds of business models. So for example, Airbnb and other peer-to-peer business models are good examples of this. So things are changed in the industry in different fronts. So from the ways that consumers behave, acts, consumer expectation, and so on, but also the way that we do business and the way that business models are introduced to the marketplace. Now, let's go a little bit further into intelligent automation as part of the focus of today's talk. And before going into the applications, I would like to talk a little bit about definition. And I think John McCarthy was the first who introduced the term artificial intelligence in the late 1950s. And to put it simply, it's really about ascription of human qualities to machines. And here I provide in a table 4 different definitions of artificial intelligence from Russell and Norvig. So on the top, it's definitions regarding the thought process or reasoning of systems. So it's really about how machines or systems think. And then at the bottom, it's about behavior. So it's about how systems act. And on the left-hand side, it's really the measures of AI capabilities as it is measured against human performance. And so whether systems think like humans and act like humans. And then on the right-hand side, it's really about AI capabilities as it measured against ideal performance. So it's really about whether or not AI systems can think rationally or act rationally. And by rationally, it means if they think, if they do the right thing, so they can make the connection between goals, action, and outcomes. And thinking and acting rationally means that they would actually do the right thing to achieve their goals. So these are basically the definitions of AI. Now, when you look at the bottom left definition of AI, you probably heard about the Turing test. Alan Turing, I think in 1950, came up with this idea of how to recognize if machines can actually act humanly by doing some tests to machines, where there's a human judge, and then the judge would actually have a conversation with humans and with machines, and then if the judge thinks that the machines actually perform like humans, then that machines is considered having human intelligence. And so based on that, there are 6 components that make up AI systems. So basically, to put it simply, it is when we want machines to act like humans, they need to have capabilities that humans have. So first of all, they need to be able to communicate effectively. So natural language processing is the first component. So machines need to be able to understand how humans communicate, to understand questions, and provide answers to the questions. So for example, at the beginning, it's always about how we can create machines to understand English and understand human level English communication. And now, of course, with all different languages. The second component is about knowledge representation. So it's really about the capability of machines to organize what they know, what they hear, so all the information that they gather from the surroundings. And they have a way, they have a system to organize this. Which related to the next one, just automated reasoning. So this is the capability of machines to actually go to the knowledge representation and look for information. If they need to answer a question, for example, look for information that they have and locate it, and then use it to answer questions. Next is machine learning. So this is the capability of machines to actually extract patterns from the knowledge that they have, but also to continuously adapt to new circumstances. So if they don't have answers to new questions, they would actually be able to learn from patterns within their knowledge, their systems, so that they can create new knowledge. And in many data processing, for example, create new ways to answer questions. Now, these 4 can be somehow, these are the components that an AI systems would have regardless of their physical component or physical aspects. So for example, Siri, if you use an iPhone, Siri is an AI system. It doesn't have a shape, we don't encounter it physically. But then if we talk about embodied AI, if we talk about physical aspects of AI, we need machines to have 2 more components. One is computer vision. So this is the ability for machines to perceive objects. So if we get closer into a machine, they know that there's a human being in front of them, so they should react to it. And of course, the more sophisticated one would actually be able to perceive, for example, emotions or gestures, and so on and so forth. And lastly, it's about robotics. So robotics is really about the ability of AI systems to move about, to have that physical shape, and that they can move around and have mobility. Now, next, so after this definition and different components of AI, let's talk about how AI and robotics are being implemented in tourism and hospitality. And as I mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to actually to go to see Henna Hotel in Japan, and that's just one example of how robotics and AI have been applied in tourism and hospitality. But I do have a few more examples. Here I have a list. For example, Starwood's group had implemented Project Jetson, which is basically a Siri-powered rooms where you stay at the hotel room. You will be able to give commands or voice commands to Siri to regulate the light or the temperature of the room, ask questions about destination related information, and so on. Chatbot is also another popular applications of AI in travel and tourism, and a lot of travel companies are now utilizing chatbots. So for example, you can talk with you can use Facebook Messenger to ask questions about reservations, about flights, of the best flights options from Hong Kong, for example, to London back for me. But Edwardian Hotels, that's a luxury brand in the UK, has implemented Edward, which is a chatbot where guests can ask questions to Edward related to their stay. And so, for example, if you want extra pillow, or if you want if you have a complaint against, for example, the window is leaking, I don't know, or the shower is not strong enough, or something like that, Edward can actually give you some solutions. We do have real-time translation options, for example, with Skype or Google Translate, that can simultaneously translate. So for example, I can talk with somebody, I can talk in English, and somebody would actually have a conversation with me in Swedish, and then Skype would actually automatically translate both of us in real time, and some other things. So some of these are, again, not they don't have the physical shape. So for example, with revenue management AI systems that a lot of companies are using at the moment, and also some kind of travel recommendation systems that are enriched by AI. So for example, with IBM Watson and so on. In hotels, this has been implemented, for example, for robot concierge. So you don't have to talk to a human person anymore. You can talk to a robot and ask about recommendations about restaurants, or where to go, what kind of shows are interesting in the area, and so on. Now, based on these examples, to me, there are a few important transformation. There are a few points of transformation that is happening with coming from the implementation of AI and robotics. First is really the possibility of having consumer self-service in the industry where it is traditionally being characterized as people's business. So hospitality is always about people, about welcoming others to your home, and making them feel like they are at home while away from home. But now with the applications of AI and robotics, these processes, these services are being automated. So there is a change in the way we serve and the way we are being served. And so that's, I think, one of the important transformation. Now, secondly, also it's really the power of AI and machine learning in particular is how we can have a stronger predictive analytics on understanding what customers would want, what customers would react, what customers would expect from hospitality and tourism services, and that would make would create or generate competitive advantages for hospitality and tourism businesses. And last, for me, is about real-time, on-the-spot response, which will then have an influence on the need for human resources to actually do this in travel and tourism. Now let's look into the first point. So these are some examples, some pictures that I took actually from Henna Hotel. One is in Ginza and the other one in Haustenbosch. And so you can see that when customers coming in, they check in with robots. They don't have to see a human receptionist. Only when it's an emergency or something, or if the system doesn't have your reservation, then there's a possibility for you to actually call a staff member. And so this is something that's not new. of course, we learned about this implementation, for a while. We do use self-service technologies in various different parts of stages of our trip. So if we go to the airport, for example, it's very common that now we're using check-in kiosks at the airport. We don't have to go to the front desk or to an agent. So really, self-service technologies is about eliminating that direct interactions with service personnel. So you are dealing with machines instead of a personnel. And so what's new with this? So for example, I have two pictures here. One is a vending machine. So everyone, I think, is familiar with a vending machine. You don't have to go to a retail shop and see people. You can just put your money or credit card or whatever, and then you get what you want. And then the next is, again, if you go to the airport nowadays, you can always use an iPad to actually put an order if you want to have dinner or lunch. So SSTs, or self-service technologies, have been with us. It's not totally new. What changed with self-service technology is that the measure of service quality and service value, because traditionally it has been attached or associated with warmth, the human touch, the friendliness of staff and personnel. Now, because service personnel is eliminated from the equation, service quality and service value is highly related with human-computer interaction. So it's really about how satisfied customers are when they are interacting with computers. So it's back again, I think in the module you will learn probably about design science and so on, right? And so it is about how we can design machines to be able to give satisfying user experience. So the core is not really about how service personnel should be trained. And of course, it is not going away. I'm going to go talk about it a little bit more later. But if we are to rely more on self-service technologies, human-computer interactions and design of technology becomes really, really important. And that would be one of the main determinants of service quality and service value for customers. So I have a video here. Let's play it. So this is an example of robot concierge. First, it can speak Japanese, so you will hear somebody talking with it in Japanese, and then it will switch to English, and you can see the magnitude or the kind of the range.
あなたの名前は何なの？
僕はユニボです。仲良くしてくださいね。
わかった。英語喋れるの？
少しずつですが、喋れるようになってきましたよ。
Oh, that's great. So, can you tell me where is the nearest convenience stores?
地図を表示いたします。歩いてゆく一瞬です。
Okay, so here perhaps if we go back to the definition and the components of AI, you will see here how the robot concierge has the ability for computer vision and also robotics, because it has a physical shape, but also because it stores knowledge, right, information in that system, and it is also able to locate that information. So when we ask a question to it, it will be able to locate the right answer and then present it. And so, but from the service point of view, this is what changed is really that service encounter. Before, when we talk about hospitality, service encounter is really between consumers and employees. But now, I think when we talk about service encounter, it has a broader definition. So it's not only about consumers interacting with staff, but it's also consumers interacting with all the entire technological systems of the hotel or of the businesses, including, you know, robots and other self-service technologies, but also the atmosphere, ambiance of the hotel. Now, this is a very how can I say, a typical way that we understand service encounter in service. So there are 3 different components in service delivery and service systems. So we have the company, we have the customer, and we have contact personnel. And normally, or traditionally, we define service delivery as interactions between contact personnel and customer. And then between all these 3 components, actually there are tensions, right, and trade-offs. So for example, customers really want satisfaction from a company. Company wants efficiency, so making sure that cost savings and all kinds of operations that would save their time and cost would be beneficial for the company. But on the other hand, customers want satisfaction from the service. So it's also the same with efficiency and autonomy as tensions between company and contact personnel. Now, the idea of service transformation in service encounter is with AI system, because once contact personnel is eliminated, how do these interactions you know, come about? So customers would then be interacting with machines, and how does machines and company would actually interact, for example, in this traditional sense. I have another video, but perhaps I would just continue because of time. So what has changed based on a few talks with hotels implementing robots? First, the customer expectation has changed because apparently customers understand when they get services from robots, from machines, they know that machines will not give them that extra. For example, if we have a scale from 0 to 10, robots cannot do beyond 10. You know, robots cannot, you know, please you beyond what they can, maybe up to 7. And apparently customers then are more tolerant if robots cannot give them, you know, above and beyond. And now, of course, what's important is that the roles of employees will change. So with self-service technology implemented in a hotel, so think about it as a self-service hotel, we know that there will be less employees in the hotel, and even less employees to interact with customers. And so what then, if we are thinking of ourselves as a hotel manager, there must be changes in the ways that employees would play a role. Now, because everything is high tech, we want employees who understand tech. So if there is some failure in the system, we want them to actually know how to act, right? So it's really about having you know, changing the mindset of the management, but also new roles are coming in for employees. And now lastly, it's really about business opportunities. This is the idea of scaling up, you know, when you start up a new business, and labor cost is normally quite high. Now, if you can automate some of the operations, there are more opportunities for business to actually scale up, to have more operations with cost savings. Now, this is an example of what happens if tech doesn't work, right? So what has changed is that now service personnel is not the first thing that the customer would encounter, but as of now, if you look at hotels implementing tech, they still have human employees, because sometimes things happened. Sometimes tech doesn't really is not able to provide what customers want, and you know, there is a button that you can call a staff, and then a staff should be actually available to help customers. And so this here is really to illustrate the change in the employee's role now. Not it's not only that robots replace employees, it can substitute the role of employees, but now tech becomes the core, and then I think staff will be needed, or human staff will be needed when the core fails. And so that's what's going on. Now, of course, there are some challenges. What if tech fails, right? And then also the idea of misuse, disuse, and abuse. People respect other people, right? That's what we learn in life. But do people actually respect machines in the same way? You know, we heard stories or on the news about people really expressing violent behavior against machines because they think that machines are just, you know, soulless thing, and people kicking, for example, kicking delivery robots because they don't like them. And so this is also an area that I think we as researchers need to actually explore further. So when there is a service failure, who's responsible for it? Is it the hotel? Is it the customers? Is it the robots? Because one of the things with self-service technologies, we give more responsibilities to the customers because it's self-service, right? So the satisfaction or the interactions between customers and machines are highly dependent on whether or not customers know how to interact. So it's really, I think the responsibility is on the customer side a lot more than when the interaction is between customers and employees. Okay, lastly, let's talk about, you know, can we create a sustainable future with automation? What's in store for the future? Can we actually use technology? Can we use robotics and automation to create a sustainable future? And if, how can we achieve that? And of course, one of the conversations we have at the moment is, can we use AI and robots for nudges? So nudges are this soft paternalistic interventions where we educate customers to do the right thing, to be more responsible, and so on. So the opportunities that we have robots like Juritan, like what's in the picture here, in the room is, if as much as we can actually program the robot to give tiny interventions to customers to save energy, to save water, to do more, you know, basically behave more responsibly. That's one thing, though. I mean, it's really about changing customer behavior, which is not really easy to do. But when we're trying to look at it from a broader perspective, these are some of the core areas where we need to develop robust and beneficial AI. So systems that would be that's kind of you know, fail safe, but also will be beneficial for the society. One thing is we need to make sure that we have a good way to measure economic and social impact of AI. So things like labor forecasting and so on. Secondly, ethical and legal issues around AI. So who's responsible if there is something bad happen? For example, if robots hurt people's feeling, or actually caused harm during the interactions. And then the last two is really about the technology itself. So really, we need to make sure that there is verification and validation in all AI system. Make sure that the AI that we develop is actually that we are developing the right thing, right? And then lastly, it's about control. So making sure that we have human in the loop. So if when AI making recommendation or making decisions, we have humans in this case to be able to verify. And some other issues: privacy, fairness, making sure that AI is not that doesn't discriminate, security of personal data, abuse, I talked about that earlier, transparency, making sure that it's not just a black box that we are dealing with AI, but we know you know, what leads to a recommendation, for example. And most importantly, we need to have a policy of AI, not only in the travel and tourism industry, but also in other society wide. All right, so that's all I have. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to have further discussion and answer any questions you have.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much, Yes. Thank you for the rich knowledge about the intelligent automation, and also your conceptualized how it's going to influence the tourism and hospitality industry. And I really like the part you highlight the challenges we're facing. Yeah, so I would like to ask questions. I would like to take advantage to be here with you to ask the first question. So, about challenge, okay? I'm thinking as a customer, I'm going to be very exciting about to experience the HANA kind of types robotics hotel. So, but if I'm going to work in or currently working in the hotel or tourism industry, I start to worry my job.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you talk about lots of automation, but of course you highlight like some positions can be replaced, but not all of them. So I would like to ask, in general, what do you think is going to happen for jobs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think naturally, I didn't talk about why Henna Hotel came up with the concept first. I think what happened in Japan is labor shortage. So they have, aging population with less people in the productive age actually willing to work in hospitality. And so I think robotics and automation was a good solution for that issue. But now, since many other hotels in other countries also implement this, what happens is, of course, not every hotel will be automated. So that's not my expectation in the future. And I think human touch and the ability for guests to actually interact with other human beings would be a point of differentiation. So it's still a value that perhaps luxury hotel would not forego. But there will be some for me the role of artificial intelligence robotics will be not to substitute but to augment. So I think one of the biggest challenges for employees at hotel is one, fatigue, if you would talk about manual labor, and also risk of injuries. So if you're cleaning the room and so on. Now if you use robots, for example, to clean, it's not going to be 100% clean as if a human being would actually do it. But if you use robots to clean the basic things and then have human employees to actually top it off to make sure that it's perfect, it will eliminate those risks of fatigue and injuries and so on. It makes their job easier. And of course, then from the hotel's perspective, you don't need as many labors as if you don't have automation. And of course, there is going to be a different, different kinds of skills that the hotels would actually need from employees. And so for us, I think as an educational institution, it is also a challenge to prepare our graduates later on. If things are going to be very high tech, we have to ensure that people actually have the skills to understand at least how to deal with, how to mediate customers when they are using or interacting with machines. So for me, augmentation, right? In addition to substitution, some will replace human jobs, but most I think will be augmentation. And then to reskilling, reskilling of labor force.
All right. Yeah, it's very clear. I understand that you're talking about actually the artificial intelligence or robots. They come actually as a complementary resources. So if we want to use a technology or this type of technology to create the competitive advantage, we actually need it match with the current human assets, right? But if you take a developmental view to look at things, right? How do you think? Because before, all the employees in, for example, doing some easy jobs without complicated skills requirement, and they never think about they're going to be replaced. But now, because of technology development, then automation came, then they start to facing this kind of difficulties in their job. But in the future, if technology development goes further, then all the machines or the robots become more intelligent. Then probably, how about it's great. It creates challenges for the even managers in the middle level, for example, to make decisions for human beings. So then this refer to another question about from a managerial point of view, how we should manage the employees' expectations if we start to adopt this type of technology in the organization. So should we do anything to manage employees' emotions or about their future career expectations?
So there are two things, right? So one is if you're looking at hotels implementing robotics as their concept. So for them, it's you start as a self-service hotel to begin with, so you don't have that complications with managing current employees. But if you're a well-established hotel and say, oh, there is this opportunity to actually implement robotics and automation, well, do I need to fire my employees because they are not needed anymore? I think it comes back to, of course, what are the priority, what are the goals, right, for implementing automation? Is it for cost savings? Is it really for efficiency? Which unfortunately, if the goal is about efficiency, then I think naturally some of the losing some of the employees would be kind of expected. But there are other goals. So for example, if it's about giving customers options, so we know that customers are not the same. Some customers would actually like to check in with robots. Some customers hate talking to people, for example. For them, then an option of not having to talk to people will be a preferred option. And for that, if the goal is giving customers an option, then I think there's less of that concern from the managerial perspective. But I think going back to my earlier statement, it's really about looking into reskilling so maybe you need more training. You need a different training for employees in hotels when they are trying to implement more technologies. So yeah, and then again, I think one of the things, for now at least, one of the goals that hotels have with implementation of AI is really novelty, to attract people's attention, to attract customers' attention. And in this case, if the goal is not to replace employees, it's really about how to bring out different roles of employees. So in this case, they could be a facilitator, making sure that customers know how to deal with technology. And
great. Sounds like artificial intelligence or intelligent automation and robots. This kind of technology is like a double-edged sword, right? You have to really think about it, like how to really apply it to enhance your business goals, rather than bring some negative side of it. All right, so it seems like it's a really hot topic. Since we are informed by our team that lots of users are waiting for questions online. So okay, now we would like to read questions from the audience. Okay, the first question is I guess is a general one. How the technology advances actually change tourist behavior? All right, probably I will make some comments first. I think changes for sure, yes. But it's also we're talking about the levels of changes. thinking about 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, when the time all the travelers moving from the offline travel agent to the online travel agent, right? You feel the changes, right? Because before you need to visit a physical store to consult with a travel agent, talk about your travel plan. Then you can do everything by your own. You can get more information. You can know things well. You can make a choice, right? With the development of social media platforms, then with the support of consumer reviews. So now in that sense, you move from offline to online. You feel the changes, right? But now, in the recent years, I would say it's not about change, it's about the transformation. So as just actually Dr. Tusadi already mentioned in her presentation, technology has been penetrated into our lives everywhere, right? At different levels, not only about automation, not only about online and offline, it's about the whole system behind many of your experience, many the business operation platforms to support the things running there. So I would say nowadays, yes, technology actually transformed our experience, not only, but maybe probably if you do some reflection, it actually transformed even your decision making style, right? So yeah, so see if Yis have any comments.
Yeah, no, I think people are used to using advanced tech at home. So you have, smart home, you're using your smartphone every day, you make decisions on site for shopping, for dining and so on. And that will carry over when you're traveling. You have the same expectation that what you do at home would be able to be, implemented when you're traveling. And so then they have this expectation that at the destination, in the hotel room, there will be similar kinds of technology. And so I think that's what's important.
Okay, great. Okay, next question. Oh, this question is for you.
Okay.
Okay, would the robotic innovation service fit and suit all markets?
Right. So I would say no, at the moment at least. So not all people, not all customers would probably appreciate, being served by robots. But if we think about, current generation, we're used to using smartphones and so on. And I think for people who want convenience, who want novelty, who want to be associated with new tech and so on, it will be a preferred option. But then if you look at markets, for example, families with kids, sometimes they have different kinds of requests from when they're staying at the hotel. They have different requirements and so on. For them, it's probably going to be a little bit more challenging to interact with all robot hotels. But if we think about, single business travelers, let's say, you go there, you just want to stay in a room, and you have meetings and you have conferences or whatever, you want uncomplicated service, for them it's perfect. But, and of course, for people who are less technology savvy, it might generate some anxiety, is it going to be complicated?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to help me if something goes wrong. And so I think it's maybe it will take a little while for people to understand how, things would work. So yeah, short answer is no.
Okay, next question. Okay, I think this question is very philosophical, but very good. Let me read it. Who leads the innovation? Are the consumers' expectations or companies' differentiations? Basically, I think they're they're asking about who drive the innovation behind. Yeah. So this question is direct to you. So.
Sure. I think like any other disruptive innovation in the market, normally, of course, the company or technology developers would start, right? So introduce new things to the market, kind of wow customers, we had a discussion about iPhone when it was introduced, the smartphone when it was introduced. It's like, oh, a big deal. Customers really love it. It's an innovation that's driven by the producer, by the company. I think it's the same thing with robotics in hospitality as well. So now companies have this concept and introduced the concept to the market. The market really liked it, really, try to embrace it. But the question is, from now on, the innovation would actually be largely influenced by customer expectations, because, as we can learn also from iPhones, every year we as customers expect that new things will be introduced to the phone. It's the same thing. It's going to be the same thing with hospitality and tourism. Now we know that there's a robot hotel. Customers would naturally expect what's new, what's going to be the next things that are introduced to the hotel operations. So I think both, maybe at the beginning it is the company, but then the customer expectations would drive that continuance. How can I say, maybe the radical one is from the company, but then the incremental innovations that happens next would be largely driven by the customer expectations.
Yeah, I would add a little bit on this, because actually I would say I agree that both of them. Basically, I think customer side and the company side or business side, actually they inform each other. So basically they co-create, I would say co-create the innovation together. Probably no matter, for example, usually the technology company adopted the most cutting edge technologies to create something applications in the business context. Then later on they have to, based on users feedback, sometimes talking about data and the real-time response, right? Big data, they analyze customers behavior and then they collect feedbacks, then they move forward for further innovation. So I would say it's a co-creation relationship. All right, so next question. So it's about luxury market. Okay. As luxury market is based on creating a unique experience, can this robot deliver same quality of experience as human? A short answer for this is in 2018, not yet, I would say, if you agree. So, but we don't know in the future. And they also, I think it depends on the context. Right, now if you watch movies, those in those science fictions, it's already the robot has no difference from the human beings. But do we want that kind of reality? I'm not sure.
Yeah, science fiction wise, yes, but no, reality, no, not really. So, as I mentioned earlier, if we have like a scale from 1 to 10, a robot would probably be, I don't know, 6. But we still need to have human beings to actually top it off to the next level. So yeah, especially if we talk about luxury markets, of course, I don't think robots would achieve a human level service.
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah, I have to add that. Yeah, at the moment. But yeah, augmenting them, supplementing their the human service is what robotics can do today.
Okay. So next question, how technology intelligence impact cost saving? Can robotics or machineries replace traditional practice? How do you think?
Well, yes, for some operations, yes. So I think we talk about, for example, cleaning. We talk about check-in services and receptionists. We don't actually need somebody to sit at the front desk anymore. We can totally replace them at the moment if our reasoning is about cost savings, but also other processes. For example, building maintenance system, we can rely on AI to actually understand what's going on with the energy and water and what needs to be repaired, what kind of machinery. So we don't really need to have people in some of these operations. So yeah, for cost savings, an example from the hotel, from the Henna hotels, for example, is they have 120 rooms or so, and they need 8 employees. So they only need 8 people. Yeah.
Yeah, in my view, I would say if you start to adopt robots or artificial intelligence supported applications in the hospitality and tourism industry, the traditional practice need to change. For example, the roles of your employees maybe need to be reassigned, right? Reassigned. For example, before you ask them to clean the floor, but now the machine's going to clean the floor. But the human beings, they can do more, right? If you equip them with more skills, actually, they can play a better role to create the customer experience. Okay, probably due to the schedule, we can receive one more question in the last. Okay. Oh, this is a good question because this is about future. So in the case of Hannah Robot Hotel, yeah, it's very interesting. So Dr. Tusadia, do you think it is a future trend in the hotel business, in the hotel management?
Yeah, well, I think personally, after talking with some of the hotel managers, I personally think this would come, automation will be practiced, applied in a lot more hotels in the future. Whether it's in the form of automated services for cost savings, or it's really about taking advantage of technologies as part of the hotel concept, or actually part of the hotel's reputation. And if you want to be regarded as a high tech or a brand that kind of that's innovative for the customers, I think there is no other option than to adopt some of the cool technologies within the hotel. But regardless of the goals, I would say this is something that in the near future, I'm not talking about 5-10 years, it's like 2-3 years from now, more and more hotels, I would say, would actually implement automation to some extent. So probably not 100% yet. Probably that's going to be in the conversation for the for 10 years, but I think to some extent more and more hotels would implement automation.
Great. All right, thank you so much, Dr. Tusadia. So actually, Dr. Is Tusadia, our today's conversation will be recorded and we will put online for several weeks. So if you would like to recommend to your friends or you would like to review it, again, you will still have chance to do that. And also we will also post Dr. Tusadia's website, webpage information in our course. So you will be able to identify more publications from Dr. Tusadia. All right, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Great.
Thank you.
So,
thank you for joining.
Great, thank you for all you in front of the computer who joined us today. Hopefully we brought some interesting discussion and insights for you to think about the challenges brought by the technology development. Okay, and in the coming 4 weeks, we have scheduled lots of rich content in different aspects for you. In the coming week, next week, the whole topic is going to be about how IT can create value, different kinds of value for the hotel and tourism business. And you will be able to watch a case study, particularly about Hotel Icon, how the Hotel Icon use the IT applications to create value or to find out the integrated solution for value creation. And in week 4, actually, you are going to learn about IT-based marketing innovation and operations. You will got some hands-on advice about how to use IT-based applications to do marketing. And in the week 5, we were brought a topic about the business analytics and focus on the big data. And in the last week, It's going to be about technology innovation and the future of hospitality and tourism industry. So this is, as I said at the beginning, this is just the beginning of this subject. It's the second week, so we are still open for registration. So if you would like to register for this course and would like to experience our exams and talk with our tutors, you can also choose to be a certified learner. All right, hopefully you were enjoying the learning journey in our course, and we will try our best to support you. So I'm going to talk with you again at the end of the course. Thank you very much.